Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed Friday night on the bus again. So, of course, you know what that means. It's time for that Friday feeling. Uh, Interesting choice of words. I don't know how many people have got to that Friday feeling on this particular evening because, yes, the transfer window has now slammed shut. It is now closed. No more business can be done. Not that Celtic were doing much business, to be honest, but yes, we shall be dissecting the fallout from that, and that certainly rages on after that press conference today. And of course, there is a game tomorrow. Yes, we're back in SPFL Premiership action. Pittodrie awaits for Celtic to trip up to managerless Aberdeen. Is it the ideal fixture that we need right now? Well, we've got to play them all at some point. So, yeah, we will be looking forward to that for lunchtime kickoff tomorrow. But before, of course, let's introduce tonight's team. As you can see, it's just a two-man team tonight, but it's the usual Friday night tradition on the bus. You know, Celtic being inactive in a January window, that's tradition. And tradition on a Friday night on the bus is me and, of course, Liam, the Punk Duck Warlord, Canada's favourite Tim, the wise man of the bus. Oh, wise man, give me some knowledge tonight because I need it to get through after that January. But how are you feeling tonight, sir?
Underwhelmed and just like, no, exhausted, but my God, I mean, I searched in, like, just waiting on it, looking at an iPad yesterday. All right, you're going to do something, right? And then realizing, nah, no, they're not. But just resigned to the fact that, okay, so this is where we are, and we'll talk about it and that. But what do you think we Craig Strachan, who I'd never heard of till this week, or Marc Lowell and that, you think they've got the feet up? You think they're like clapping each other on the back and saying the job well done? We got 2 million for Turnbow. We've come out of this okay, and we're going to ride through this. Everybody's going to forget. We get a good win tomorrow, and we're just hoping that everybody forgets how fucking shite we've been at our jobs, and we just move on with it. So let's figure out. Let's figure out what our next plan of attack is tonight, Phil.
Yes, let's do that, mate. Exactly. Somebody's got to front up and talk about it, yes, but we are here, as always, on a Friday night to do that. But, of course, before we go any further, folks, of course, just remember to do all that good stuff that helps out the channel. Obviously, hit that like button, and that helps us in the old algorithm, CSC, as I always like to say here on the bus. Gets our name and more people's recommended videos on YouTube. If they happen to like Celtic podcasts, then we're more likely to appear. Spreads the word of the Boise bus. Of course, you can get involved in our comment section tonight. And once again, I've put another poll. I'm actually afraid to look at the results, and that's what I was afraid to look at last week's ones. But tonight's question is a very simple question. It's a yes or no answer. Will Celtic go on and win the Scottish Premiership this season? So I'm looking for, we will have a wee look at the end. But the last time I had a wee peek, it's not looking too good. But I've got a lot of pessimism so far. But I don't blame people. I do not blame them one bit. Of course, you can subscribe to the bus. Of course, you haven't done so yet. If you want to keep us in your life that little bit longer, then by all means, hit that subscribe button and make sure you hit the bell notification. You'll be notified when the bus is on the road. And you can share the link of the Boise Bus far and wide on whatever social media platform you wish. And of course, head over to piesports.com and use the code BUDS1888 and get yourself 12.5% off your tasty pastry treats. And with all that said and done, Liam, let's get this show on the road. And the Friday feeling, do what we normally do. So, we are playing, of course, Aberdeen tomorrow. Pittodrie awaits. And we've already been up there this season. We beat them 3-1 in the second game of the season. At that time, people were saying, that's going to be a difficult one. That's going to be a tough game. And I felt on that day, we actually did no too bad. Aberdeen caused a bit of problems, but I felt they just ran out of steam. And we just picked them off, ended up beating them 3-1 in the end. Of course, we head up there tomorrow. Things are a little bit different now. Obviously, we're halfway through the season, and Aberdeen are now managerless. Is that a good thing, Liam, from our point of view, or a bad thing? A team that's really got nothing to lose now. Apparently, it's going to be, I think, the youth team coaches in charge, essentially temporary charge until they've got an actual manager in place. So the whole new manager bounce theory, you'd like to think that won't come into play tomorrow. But of course, if we've been at Aberdeen as well, and it's been on Sky, I'm sure Chris Boyd will have something to say about that because he's been very vocal this season whenever Celtic and Aberdeen have played. So, but by his logic, we should have no problems at all. We should get them just absolutely breeze it, beat them 6-0 at Celtic Park. But obviously the current mood the mood music around Celtic right now? Could that even play a part, Liam? But yeah, just your general thoughts before we look at the team closer. How are you feeling ahead of this one?
I mean, the fact that they don't have a manager right now, I mean, that falls into us. But do we have a manager? Do we have a manager with a spine? Do we have a manager now that the players still respect? I mean, we had players that were getting... James Forrest was offered out the door. You know, at the last minute, guys played his entire year for the club, and he was offered on deadline day, you know, at the end of it and stuff. So I don't know, what sort of tune do you think Rodgers is going to get for the players? Do you think that this vibe that's travelling through the team, that is just lackluster sense of no direction, no strategy, you know, and then building on the absolute shite we seen last week, you know, that performance.
Yeah.
I'm watching at 7 o'clock in the morning, I'm ready to go back to bed. You know, it's absolutely terrible. And so if we can get that going, I mean, if we can get service to Kyogo, there's just so many variables right now what Celtic team's going to show up, and where our priorities lie, and how much a tune can Rodgers get out of this team right now, because it doesn't seem to be a tune or a tone or anything coming from any part of the club. There's not one that I could say is really, really positive, other than the bank managers, you know, the showing up at the bottles of champagne and saying, we did another one. Did he lose it?
Yes. You know? Oh yeah, I know they can celebrate that one. They can celebrate the $2 million they pulled in for David Turnbull as well, with 6 months left in his contract. If they were as good in negotiating players coming in as they are going out, then my God, we'd be in a hell of a better place. But no, that's one of the many, many problems. But that was an interesting line you threw out there, Liam. That might be the line of the night already. Have we got a manager? Because, yeah, I mean, a press conference today, and people were eagerly awaiting it, to hear what he was going to say. And obviously it was put to him. And again, the words deja vu come to mind here, Liam. We've lived this one before. We've read this chapter. He threw out a line which basically said that players were willing to come here, but clubs weren't wanting to sell. I've heard Peter Lawwell say that before about, we wanted to buy, but the clubs didn't want to sell. And it was that whole January's a hard window. And I look at, the targets that were, again, things that us fans, just regular fans, we're not in the know, we're not connected clubs. The Boise Bus is certainly not part of the fan media circle. We don't have any sort of access, but we're just regular fans, and we can see, even back in the summer, some of the positions that were needed and the way we went about it here. And you try to tell me that in all of world football, we couldn't identify a left back to come in to do a job, at least, playing against SPFL teams to the end of the season, that's better than Greg Taylor and Alessandro Bernabei, because right now, obviously, Taylor is injured for a few weeks anyway, and Bernabei is going to have to play against Aberdeen and probably against Hibs as well, and maybe even St Mirren next week in the Scottish Cup. That's the situation we find ourselves in, because I genuinely accept now, Liam, despite the fact we've said loads of times about maybe Liam Scales will get a shot at left back, I kind of concede that's just not going to happen now. It just seems like it's never going to happen, no matter how much we try to wish it into existence. It's going to be basically Taylor or Bernabei in this squad at the moment. And but yeah, the whole line about we had players ready to wanting to come here, but couldn't get over the line, or the clubs weren't willing to sell. It's like, heard it all before, and again, when you look at things like that, the left back position, we're screaming out for a left back. You in particular were screaming out for a left back last season when Ange Postecoglou was still in charge, when everything was rosy in the garden. You were one of the few people that kept saying, by the way, guys, Greg Taylor is a bit of a concern, and here we are, man. Here we are now, and Bernabei for the next few weeks. And again, it's like, what do you do, man? How do you even address this?
So when we came on when the last window slammed shut, and we were talking about the team, one of the things that I said is you can use Greg Taylor as an avatar about how this team sees itself and the structure within Celtic. And that was it. Are we taking ourselves seriously or not? And I always looked at, if that is so glaring and that's not changed, how do we go on? How do we have any confidence that this is a board or this is a coach? This is anybody in this club is seeing him as our starting left back? Because I always saw that there was problems there. There was no physicality, but also as well, just the man himself. I'm sure he's a lovely boy and all that, but the fact that he's the most vocal in the change room and the most vocal on the park, and all, I mean, being one of the poorer players, just shows you how the culture in this club has just shrunk. Not just this jersey's not shrunk to fit inferior players. It's we're hanging that jersey and we're looking at that as like a leader, a leader on the team. Greg Taylor. Now, all you have to do is go back and look at those 6 points that we dropped just before Christmas. Well, 2 of those games, you can say that Greg Taylor was actually involved in 2 of those fuck-ups with Joe Hart. Not being able to have the physicality or the muscle to just get a guy out the road, but everybody knows they can fling him about. Everybody knows a corner coming. Everybody just attacked Greg Taylor. I've heard people saying that watch it, like guys like yourself, in the games, you could actually see the tactics of teams coming in and attacking them. And I'm not talking Atletico Madrid. I'm talking provincial shite like, St. Johnstone and stuff.
Yep.
So you can see there's a glaring inadequacy there, and it's just not been fixed. And that's one of the things that you look and say, are we a serious club moving forward? Because if we are, that was the one position that was identified. It was glaring. It was obvious. We've just came through, and it doesn't look like we've done anything to address that. And I think that comes to now is like, once the curtain's been pulled back this week, and we saw that Craig Strachan, I knew we had Gavin Strachan. I know Gordon Strachan is an advisor, but now there's another one in there. And in a week where we were thinking that nepotism was our downfall, here we uncover another one. Now, I'm wondering, you pull back that, it's like cockroaches or rats. When you got one, you've got more than 2 or 3. How many more are there who are in family and friends and all that we don't know about it? Knowing that Craig Strachan was just revealed this week.
I had no idea who he was. Hadn't even heard of him. Didn't even know this was a thing until it obviously was doing the rounds on Twitter through the week.
It makes you respect everybody. I look at Jerry McCulloch. Who the fuck is he related to? He's got because
Jerry.
But he does not know anything about football. Come in and you and I were joking yesterday. Was it yesterday, the day before, where I said, Phil, could you write Jerry McCulloch's questions for?
I think the 4 questions that I wrote all appeared in the interview because it's the same 5 or 6 questions that you'll always ask, and you can write it. No, it's so predictable now. Generic stuff.
Growing up in Ireland, were you familiar with Glasgow? Were you familiar with Celtic? Now he's got a new one. Have you got any Celtic tattoos you could share with us?
I've seen that. I've seen that tonight. Point at he's got a tattoo in his arm, the tricolour.
It's not even. I mean, I'd seen people on Twitter just like fucking like, what a brass neck that is. Imagine somebody signing for Rangers, something like fucking Bulldog holding a Union Jack or something, and it's like he'd be slagging the life out of them. But no, it's even a picture of Rodgers pointing at like, fuck, this guy's a rat. It's a radical. He's got a fucking Ireland tattoo. Yep. Irish, what do you fucking expect?
Of course, he's from Ireland, so big shock there. David Kelly saying never get on the nepotism stuff. At one point, we had 3 Strattons and 2 Lowells at the club. O'Day and McManus in charge of youth development. They must be the best possible coaches with great CVs. Yeah, again, you scour you do due diligence. You scour the globe to find the best candidates. And you happen to land on people with these second names. It's like, yeah, of course you did, Celtic. But Liam, last week, obviously, we spoke about last Friday before the Ross County game, the news that Carter Vickers had just signed a new deal. And obviously I was saying, one of the things I brought up was, that's great, but obviously he's no good to us if he's injured. And of course he is now injured, which is becoming a bit of a concern. Is he now going to be a long-term one that's always in and out the team? 5.5 years we've signed him for. Well, maybe David said it last week. Maybe that is one of the reasons why he hasn't attracted any big bids, because people are now aware of his track record with injuries. But yeah, he's out. So we start looking at the back line here. And so I'd expect it's going to be Nawrocki getting a start and probably Liam Scales, I would guess, at centre-back. Yeah, as I said earlier on, as much as we try to will it every single week, but give Liam Scales a shot at left-back, I just don't think it's going to happen. It's going to be Bernabei. Although on the left-back situation, Stephen Kenny did come in and say, I would play Ralston at left-back. Now, there was a game at Celtic Park before the new year. I want to say it was the Motherwell game at home, the one that we drew, but I'm sure Ralston came on in a game and played like 10 minutes at left back and was better in the 10 minutes than what Greg Taylor did in the time that he was on the park. If I remember, it might have been the Motherwell game, but it was definitely at Celtic Park. So I was at the game back. I remember coming with it going, God, Ralston actually did okay there. And Alex is also asking, and this is one that comes up a lot after his fleeting appearance in the Champions League against Feyenoord, Mitchell Frame. Again, it's like that boy got a chance. I mean, remember last week as well, we spoke about it on the Friday show, Liam, where Brendan had used the word pathway in a press conference, but he wants to give the youngsters more of a pathway. And it's like, well, Mitchell Frame, for that 10 minutes that he was playing against Feyenoord, looked all right. He didn't look too bad, but he's just disappeared into the abyss again. And it's like, surely God, man, these guys are worth a shot. But he's just, I just don't know what he means by pathway. You know, I say we talk about how bad our youth development is, and then we get surprised when they basically go away to other clubs playing for reserve teams down south. And it's like, you know, they need to get an opportunity somewhere. And again, it's like, you know, for what I saw there, and he did all right against a Champions League team, to play against an SPFL level team, I don't think Mitchell Frame's the worst suggestion. And Ralston at left back isn't even a bad suggestion either, because as much as though Greg Taylor gets it tight on here, Bernabei is just, he is not. I mean, and the scariest bit is, Liam, he's the most expensive left back we've ever signed in the club's history. That's a scary thought, isn't it? 3.75 million, which even in 2023, 2024 is a crazy amount. That, you know, that's our record for a left back. It shouldn't be. We should definitely spend more than that. But yeah, he is actually our record signing as a left full back. Alessandro Bernabei. Scary stuff, man.
But Bernabei, I think, is a lot similar to Taylor. I've said this before as well. You know, we let Tierney go, and we've tried to replace him with somebody. The thing about Tierney is, like, he brought a physicality to that position where he could power forward and move and get involved in different ways than both Bernabei or Taylor could. I mean, both of them, I think, converted midfielders. Bernabei, you know what, I'd stick Bernabei in the wing, you know, like if we're trying to find a place for him and see where he is, because it's just another one that can't defend. And ship goals and on set pieces, corner kicks. Why? Because we've got one in there that's assuming the role of a defender. He's identifying as a defender, but he's not coming across with the sort of roles and responsibilities of a defender. You know, the pathway thing, Christ, I don't know. Maybe it's a heated pathway we're waiting on, you know.
Perhaps. Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. You're right about the Bernabei thing. I think a lot of it seems like a lot of South Americans, Argentinians in particular, it always feels like they always start in a more attacking position in early in their career and move back away. Because one of the great acid tests when it comes to Argentinians is name a great Argentinian defender. And it's like when you think Argentina, especially in recent years, you think of Messi, Aguero, Di Maria. These are all attacking players.
Scottish last names, Phil, like Brown and McAllister.
McAllister, yes, that's right. The one that plays for Liverpool. Yeah, I think the last good Argentinian defender was Daniel Passarella, and that was like 1978. Like, honestly, like, you know, Argentina don't usually produce great defenders. It's usually always attacking players. But Bernabei does play like a wide forward essentially, because his defensive awareness is lacking. But I say he will probably end up playing. Now, here's one I want to just throw at you as well, just on the CCV injury. And I'm not saying for a second that I believe this, but I've seen people discussing this on Twitter this week. And I don't know if it's just a stretch, if it's just bitterness or anger, or they're just looking to channel their anger somewhere. Obviously, CCV's constantly picking up injuries right now. Hatate, we're going to get on to top of the midfield. Obviously, Hatate is out for a wee while as well. Do you think the change from Ange Postecoglou's style to Brendan's style is what's causing these constant injuries, or do you just think it's just bad luck? Because I saw people saying that this was genuinely the words of a tweet I saw. This is all Ange Postecoglou's fault, and I was like, I don't know if I'd say fault is the word here, but the point about going from one style of play, and obviously Ange's is very, very different to Brendan's, which is kind of ironic, Liam, because I remember Brendan Rodgers talking about in his initial press conference when he came back to Celtic. Oh, I mean, you know, our styles are quite similar, just a few little tweaks here and there. Well, I don't know. It looks night and day to me, the style of play. But yeah, do you think that's maybe playing a part, though? There is some kind of, like, these players were so used to that type of football, the intensity, and then, I don't know, I would have thought if it went the other way, it would cause more injuries. If you go from a slower pace to a faster pace, that would cause more injuries. We've went the other way, but I would say it's more just bad luck. But what do you think of that theory, Liam?
I think it's bad luck, but you can also see a difference in the pace that we're playing. No longer do you see Callum running about and doing this, right? You used to see that under Ange. It was like, okay, I think it was like every 15 or 20 minutes there has to be a surge again of attack, and we don't do that anymore. That seems to be. The other thing I've noticed as well, Joe Hart's still running like a maddie to get the ball back in play.
Yeah.
Like Greg Taylor now. Greg Taylor loves that camera. And so now it's like I get to watch about, a bigger percentage of my game now of him trying to figure out where he's going to throw the ball. Because the camera's on, he makes a wee face and he's, I'll do this, I'll do that. And it's just like, just throw the fucking ball in. I liked when we were throwing the ball in fast. I think it kept the pace going, but it threw off the defence of the other team, especially when they were trying to do all that block and all that, because that lets them get all set and back in. When we're flinging the ball and just everybody's active and alert to know that ball's going to come to you. Now, it's like, I'll go this way and then I'll fake. I've noticed as well, Taylor, he's more preoccupied now with stealing 5 or 6 yards rather than ball in quickly. And it's like, when have we became a team in the SPFL and we're stealing fucking yards off a throw in? You know what I mean? Get the ball in. I like that style of football that we're playing. Get it going, keep it fast. And Andrew's right, I slagged him off when he left and all that because I really thought we'd won a prize.
Yep.
Not an absolute mug now, like everything he promised us, like he was, we'll just tweak the system a little bit. It's just fucking bullshit, and he's just sitting there, it's just another con man like the bloody rest of that board, and it really, really is. I'm fucking old enough to not be fooled by this stuff anymore. But no, you go, another imposter, that's come in and he's going to talk a good game. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and well, just that's a hard window, and and quality, and I'm that annoyed at Rodgers that I don't think we should wait for him to leave at this point. If we start dropping points and that, we get him out the door quick, because you can't come in and shoot all that shite, and I thought this was a really good chance for him to come back and have some sort of just the way he left was so ungraceful, that this was a chance to come back for a club that you supposedly support and a club that you love, fans that you respect, and all that sort of stuff, that was the fans and the people and all that. Nah, you left us for a fucking shite Leicester club, and now you're coming back, and you've came back with, I'm not seeing the next Liverpool manager, I'm seeing the next Leicester manager, and Leicester manager got them relegated. That's what you're getting, and I think that is coming through the team now. And it's like we're not buying guys for teams that have winners either, or bringing winners into the team, guys that know how to win week in, week out. No, we got projects again, guys. Look at Alistair Johnson last week. That was caught on the camera. It's like, 1-0 and they're booing. What? But then again, he's been hanging about with Greg Taylor. He took Greg telling him about the club and how and that is not the guy that should be out there selling the club. A Tommy Burns figure, any of that, sort of like let a player like that know that you're expected to win every week, but you're also expected to win the Celtic way. This new thing and fluffing, like, great goal, by the way. It hit off about 3 players before it went.
Well, you said earlier on you wish you'd gone back to your bed. You could have went back to your bed after 2 minutes last week, because that was all you needed to see. Because that was it. 1 goal after, a minute and a half or something. That was it. And it was a horribly deflected goal. More deflected than Berham Kyle's one against Ajax all those years ago. And that was horrendously deflected. And it slowly rolled into the net. It was just awful. But it got the win. I suppose it did get the win on the board, but it was a turgid game to sit through. Not made any better by the horrible penalty curse that we seem to still be under. But that's also. But here's a question I've got for actually the viewers, the actual viewers in the chat, because I imagine there's quite a few Celtic season ticket holders who've got a lot of the home games, obviously. And you brought something up about the throw-ins And Smell the Glove has brought up a point here about the ball boys itself have got about £10. Now, it's not that's the point, but has anybody else noticed who's a season ticket holder that goes the absolute miscoordination that goes on between the club or the players and the ball boys and girls at the side of the park? It feels like they are still instructed to quickly give the ball back, and sometimes they end up throwing it, and 2 balls end up on the park, which then causes a delay in play. This seems to keep happening. Or the other thing that keeps happening, which is also really annoying, it's not necessarily the ball boys or the boy girls' fault. A fan in the crowd catches a ball that goes astray, then just launches it back into the park. And what it does again is it causes a break in play. Because you're saying, like, Joe Hart, he's like quickly trying to get a goal kick going, but then another ball comes flying onto the park because there's been a miscommunication somewhere. And it's like, why does this keep happening? And it feels like, are they still trying to do what they were instructed to do under Ange, where it's like, get it back quickly? But the team are kind of playing a bit slower now under Brendan, and it's so frustrating to see the amount of abuse the ball boys and the boy girls get at Celtic Park when the ball ends up back in the park. And, then there'll be play going on to the other end, and the ball will just be sitting there, and they're shouting abuse at them. And every week this happens, and it's just wee annoying things like that. It can cause a break in play. We're trying to move it quicker, and then that happens, and it's just it's just one of the many frustrations. But yeah, if you are a regular at Celtic Park season ticket holder, if you've noticed it, and I'm not the only one that's noticed, I was Smell the Gloves saying buy new ball boys. Well, that would involve Celtic having to spend actual money. I'm not doing that anytime soon.
Just have a plan,
Yeah.
I had a plan of how the ball boys and everything. It was just seemed to be a fluid structure and a strategy that hit every single point of the club, right to ball boys and girls, and that's what's missing this year. Whereas, like, no, I think everything's just half done, half up. Nobody wants to look any further than what's in front of them or the papers in their drawer. And nobody wants to open up a resume and actually look at it, because I don't know, it's the same. I mean, who's he going to get on here? Is not related to anybody, Let's just go with who we've got, and who can shout in the tea room, hey, you want a job with the under-21s? Who have we got, just walking about? It just seems to be that type of management style now that lazy. It's lazy. Lazy and incompetence. That's the two things.
Yep.
Lazy, we're not getting the people with the proper qualifications. We're getting. I looked at Craig Strachan's qualifications.
I've seen that doing the rounds, yes. Interesting.
He's about what? It's like 2012 to 2016 or something. He was managing a golf club or something. Yep.
The second name Strachan, so there you go. That's how he's ended up in this job. I didn't know he existed. I'm the exact same as you. I didn't know he was even on the club's payroll. Didn't even know anything about it till this week. It came to light. I don't know which podcast or which Twitter account it was that brought it up, but it was like, well, that sums up a lot, really, doesn't it? That really does. It's like, yep, again, the nepotism.
I checked to see if the lassie was working in any of the departments. Who knows? I mean, it's not going to be long, right? I mean, anyway, I'm suspecting now that everybody involved there is like just so much nepotism running through this club that it's incestuous. It's like,
it's a closed shop. It's jobs for the boys, essentially. And it's like no, they're very much keeping it within their circle. Essentially, that's what they're doing. Gatekeeping. Here's one for you, though, William. Here's one for you. I've got one that sums up that transfer window, and it's a name that's came up. I was going to be talking about this guy when we got to the midfield. Does this sum up the Celtic transfer more than anything? This guy, Stephen Kennedy, says, get James McCarthy to be the ball boy. About time he starts earning a wage, because that is one of the craziest moments of that entire January window. A guy who has not kicked a ball, I believe, since St Johnstone last season, the game when Giakoumakis scored the stoppage time winner. They equalised, and then we went up the park and scored in stoppage time. And James McCarthy was actually involved in the build-up for that. And I think that was the last time James McCarthy has been on the park for us. He hasn't kicked a ball in a competitive game since then. I think there was a story a few weeks ago. He made an appearance for the B team, played 54 minutes in a game that they lost. And apparently a loan offer comes in for a team in Greece. And great, you'll send him out there. Now, they weren't willing to pay all of his wages, but they were going to pay a portion. But then Celtic decided to knock it back because the team weren't willing to pay all the wages. So we'll just keep him and we'll pay all of his wages. Is that not the most Celtic thing you've ever seen in a transfer window, Liam?
Aye, I mean, it is. I mean, I think the scouting for that Greek team is probably very Celtic as well. It's like, has anybody checked to see if, McCarthy's been playing in the last 2 years? No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what was he on? 4.5-year deal as well?
He signed, when he signed the 2021, I think it was a 4-year deal they announced, and that's like, he was like 31, 32 at that point. Like I'd say 31. I'll go for I'll go for the younger age, give him the benefit of the doubt here, but that doesn't make it any better.
I think we've got a template now that's just, like, I thought that after Kuhn signed, and then Carter Vickers got the contract renewal, and that it was another 5.5-year deal, and it's like, fuck, have we just got the one template where we just rub out the name? Because that's the sort of laziness now that I have to suspect is going on there. Now it's just like, I just use the one we use for Kuhn, we just rub his name out and, change the numbers and that. But another 5.5-year deal, because but we've got probably a private members function, a club to go to or something, because this team's acting like a bunch, like the board's acting like a bunch of elites. They've so separated themselves with the fan base at this point. Even their suits piss me off. Walking in, they've got a uniform as well. Like, they think they're sort of fucking dynamic team, all coming in with the crap fucking grey suits and the ties and all that, and just, fucking Mark Lawwell looks like he's in a suit. Looks like he's had a head transplant. It's like somebody's put on a suit. It's like, oh, I'm done with this board. It makes you angry as a supporter to think of all the years that watching Celtic, that we're back to the fucking Whites and the Kellys and that again,
Yeah, there's definitely parallels to it. Definitely is. With obviously the thing is, though, we've got lots of cash this time, and that has been the most frustrating bit about it, Liam, is we are very openly saying to the whole of world football that we are flush with cash, so AGMs and announcing stuff to the stock exchange. We know we've got lots, but the thing is, we don't. I've said this enough times. Celtic don't have to go out and spend, say, £15 million on, like 4 or 5 players, 15 million each, right? That's like English Premier League type stuff. But see, just that 5 million, 6 million range, as we saw with Jota and Carter Vickers, or even like long-term ideas like loans with an option to buy for a price, that sort of price, where you're getting a good try of them for a year, and then if you want to obviously buy them, then by all means. But it just seems so odd that they're sitting there and openly bragging about, we've got all this money, and then they're just not pushing the boat out at all. And it's like, what are you so afraid of? What is the problem here? And then we've been obviously handed the same lines about, it's a hard window. January is a hard window. We've heard of it. We could have predicted this coming, and to nobody's surprise, that's exactly what came. And yeah, we did. Well, one thing that's true, because there's no point in discussing who the 3 midfielders are going to be tomorrow, because we know it's going to be McGregor, it's going to be Bernardo, and it's going to be O'Reilly. But the interesting part is the bench now, in terms of what was the option here? Because Tumble's gone. David Tumble, who was always sneaking into the team, whether starting or being a guy that always seemed to come on as a sub, he's now gone. So does Thiago Holm finally get more opportunities? Because Andy, he is our player. I did find it weird that Tumble, who was, it was quite obvious that he wasn't going to sign a new deal, was running down his contract, was getting more game time than a guy we actually bought in Thiago Holm. So it's like, well, if this guy's a project player, the only way he's going to develop is to get more game time, and you're stifling him. And the attempt to obviously keep playing David Tumble, I don't know if they were trying to sway him to sign a new deal, but obviously it didn't work. He's now gone. I'm sure Marc Cairney is absolutely delighted because we know how he feels with David Tumble, but to be fair, a lot of the points are very valid. I do think David Tumble had a decent technique to him, but man, he was slow, very, very slow, and turning on the ball especially. But here's another thing, maybe a wild James McCarthy will appear in the squad tomorrow. God, could you imagine? But yeah, in terms of that though, in midfield, because Hatate's injured as well, remember? Hatate's obviously injured. Awata, I believe, was spotted back in training, who's been a bit of a weird one this season, where when he has played, he's not been terrible, but it took him a while to actually get some game time, Liam. So how do you feel, though, about the strength and depth in the central midfield area? Because there was some loose links last night, and of course it was never going to happen, that at the 11th hour we were looking at another centre midfield option, which obviously didn't come to light at all. But how do you feel generally about the centre midfield? Because to me, it's like, one bad injury there right now to McGregor, Bernardo or O'Reilly, and the drop is pretty vast right now.
I mean, our midfield didn't do very good last week. I thought they were very, very poor. And Bernardo's looked like he'd regressed. I mean, that's the thing. We keep getting these flourishes of players. There's nobody that's came in and actually settled into like a season-long performance. Right? So I seen it when Iwata came in. I thought he looked really, really good. And then he sort of fell away again. Came back on again to a game just before he got injured. Matt O'Reilly, he's been consistent. McGregor's been up and down. Bernardo, I don't know. It's just like Louis Palmer, right? I mean, he has a couple of great games, and then last week I thought he was terrible, just getting in the road and stuff like that, and just didn't seem to be pushing it. I like Home, but it's the same thing as well. He's not really been able to stamp any authority in that position. The ones outside the team, Iwata and Home, I'd like to see Iwata in there. You know, I'd like to see maybe take off Callum McGregor in some of these games towards the end and get Iwata in and get him somewhere experienced in the midfield, because I always think he's shored that up when he came in. You know, I always think he's been really, really good defensively there. To like when we were playing in Europe, you know, he was definitely more cultured for that. But yeah, I think the midfield just sort of picks itself. I think it's just who comes on as the subs now and gets tired. I think, you know, like we're no imagination FC right now, right? No creativity, nothing. That comes to even the manager as well. He'll sit there, he'll go and talk to John Kennedy, another gormless fuck that, you know, don't know what the fuck's he's still doing in the team, you know. and they'll look at each other and it'll say, all right, we'll put Home on for, you know, Bernardo in the last 15 minutes or something. I mean, you can write this out now, what the changes are going to be and what the team's going to be. You know, and I think he needs to change the shape of the team.
A lot of people in the chat are saying about like maybe 3 at the back and 3-4-3, 3-5-2, all these different things. A 3 at the back essentially, because with the fullback positions right now, we're so stumped right now. Why not?
I like the idea Ange had is like when we came out for that first 20-25 minutes, we were flying. It was like shock and awe. Just hit them with everything you possibly can. And it was great. We were going up, we were getting goals, we were early. You know, we did the same last week, but then we took the foot off it started going wrong. And then we missed the penalties, all the heads went down. Just like, oh Christ, you know, it's like there's no, you know, there was just no leadership on the park at that point from there. Like, where was the captain at that point? Of like, where was he going around and getting the players? You know, right, okay, even just changing the penalty kicker or getting him in there, it's like, listen, you just go through that ball and get it in the goal, you know, or appointing somebody else or taking it himself. You know, all that stuff. That would have been a bold move for Callum last week. And it's like, okay, this is turning into a shit show. Stop these daft fucking penalty runs where you're stopped and all that. Because, you know, there's a good chance we'll get one of them, have to retake, you know, that we score because or it just null and void because you stop on the way there. I don't know how that helps you in any way, because there's absolutely no momentum coming for your body. And now the keeper's watching you, like basically just from a still position, lifting your back leg. And he knows exactly what side he's going.
Yes.
And I don't know who they're seeing doing this. I know Tavernier does it, but he doesn't miss. But he doesn't do it the same way. And it's just like, fucking look at me shit, you know? And I think that's the problem. We've got too many players right now that are posers and just want to be, look at me. But, you know, Bernardo's all about the smile and this and that. And thing, we've built a team in the image of Greg Taylor. And that's what I said was happening here. And that's what happened this year, is somehow his influence has managed to, or just like that sort of culture has permeated the entire team. And it's just, that's what we are now. And I think that's why I always wanted to get rid of him, because I just don't think he's Celtic class. And I think he's just a wee clown.
Yeah.
We're in a circus now. Get clown.
Yeah, definitely a circus. That's one way of putting it. But there's been a lot of calls tonight for different changes in shape of formation, but I can pretty much guarantee it's going to be 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, whatever you want to call it. But let's talk about the forwards, because we did actually sign a forward. We did actually sign one, Liam, and whether he was actually a target at any point, whether you want to believe Brendan Rodgers and his stuff today about the qualities of the player and how he's known him for a while. Okay, Brendan, no problem, mate. But yeah, I believe it's pronounced Ida. I think I've heard it pronounced though as I-D-A-H. So I'm not sure, is it Ida or Ida? But people keep me right in the chat. I believe he was getting called Ida on his interviews, Adam Ida. So Norwich striker who hasn't really had a really great career up to now, but a stop-start one. He's an Irish international. Well, by the way, speaking of penalties, I did see a clip of him scoring a penalty for the Irish national team against Holland. A no-nonsense penalty where he ran up and he put his laces through it. Yes, that's what I want penalty takers to do. That's it. Just make your mind up right away and don't fanny about. Just batter it into the net. But anyway, he's obviously on board, on loan to the end of the season, despite the original reports, Liam, that he was going to be signing with an option to buy, which I'm always in favour of. If there's an option to buy, if he turns out good and we've got first dibs on him, great. But then, of course, the story broke that actually there isn't an option to buy. So it's like, okay, that's a real ringing endorsement of this one. Again, it just feels like it's another scattergun approach. And of course, the great irony to this, and hey, I said earlier on, is this the most Celtic thing that can happen to us in a window about the James McCarthy thing? Here's one for you. Well, loosely, it seems with Sidney Van Hooijdonk. Whether that was just because of his name, who knows? But it seems we were. But Norwich City have signed him. And the guy who's basically been cast off because Sidney Van Hooijdonk went to Norwich City has ended up with us. So is that the most Celtic thing that's happened in a transfer window, Liam?
I mean, there was a lot of people checked to, Sidney Van Hooijdonk. Again, we're complaining about nepotism, right? The only reason he was on their radar was because who his dad is, and to go for him because his dad was Pierre and pass up on Henrik's boy because of much pressure, whereas Henrik's boy's still playing in the Champions League. I think they went through to the next rounds, right?
Yeah, they're definitely still in Europe anyway. Them and Galatasaray finished ahead of Man United. I don't know what order it was in.
So, why would we go for Larson then if we were going to do something like that? And I didn't think he was a great player, but the fact that they've replaced the player they're giving us with him, it just shows you how much we've downgraded in our expectations and the players that we're looking at. Why are we going cap in hand? And, I thought the boy that went to Kilmarnock was a much
Evan
better
Van Veen,
than the two of them. Like we were talking about Shanklin, and Miovski. Well, here's a guy that came in runner-up to Kyogo last year and scoring goals in Scotland. So there's a guy definitely was in net. I mean, that was one of the things last year when he absolutely tumble-dried Greg Taylor, just left him fucking boots, shin pads everywhere all over the park when he just ragdolled him, and scored in Joe Hart, who also didn't look very good on that, last year when he played against us. I think he's going to make playing against Kilmarnock even harder for us as well. I think that's a good signing for them. I think he would have been a better loan signing for us than going with the cast-offs again. And I wish the boy all the best. I felt bad for him and all that, but I feel really sick with that the club has got us to this state where, all the pressures on that boy now, just to show up and, and start playing where everybody's just like really, really underwhelmed with him, and who he is. And it's where it's coming for you. And you're right, Phil. The fact that the optics that they've signed the player, I think that we wanted, and then we've downgraded to the player that they've made room to get.
They've cast off. Yeah.
Cast. Like, we need some scouts, man. We need scouts. We need a director of football, but it's going to be Gordon Strachan or Neil Lennon.
Oh no, don't. Oh no, this is some nightmare, that very thought. And by the way, to Monty, who's naming millions and millions of Argentinian defenders in the chat, thank you. But my point does still stand. They don't tend to produce good defenders. Because it's like, obviously last year, or a year and a bit ago, they won the World Cup. But again, you know, in terms of the defenders that started in the game, most people can't remember them. I remember Otamendi just because of the shithouse that he was doing in that tournament, but other than that, totally unmemorable. They tend to just produce really good attackers, Argentina, but yeah, they do have a few defenders along the way. Zanetti's name came up. He is actually really good. He's a fullback. How we could have done with him, you know, we could have a player at his level at fullback right now. Jeez, oh. But yeah, obviously, I say when it comes to Ida, back on the topic with him, I feel really bad for the boy in terms of it's not his fault that he finds himself in this situation, because last night, people were waiting with bated breath for that tweet to go up just because they were waiting to unleash all sorts of hell on the club's social media account. And again, you know, the boy if he comes up here and does the business, so be it. But obviously, again, a word we use a lot on the bus, the optics of it, it just doesn't look good. But yeah, if he does come up here and do the business, then so be it. But then, of course, what's the end game here? He comes up here for 5 months, 6 months. Let's say he does have a good time. There's no option to buy, so he goes back to Norwich, and maybe they sell him to another club for a decent profit, or they bring him back. He gets back in the Norwich team, and we've basically developed a player for them for 6 months. You know, so what essentially have we really, you know, gained from it? You know, I was like a loan or an option to buy, and I found it quite an odd one that at the last minute it seemed to be, oh no, there isn't actually an option to buy. But let's look at his profile anyway in some capacity, because he obviously is very, very different to what Kyogo is. He's 6'3", so he's a big target man. It seems it might be something that we need, Liam, because there are games this season where, you know, we are struggling against a low block, and it's like, you know, we're still trying to pass it sideways, and I don't know what it is, and it's not even just a new thing with Celtic, but I just feel like every manager just seems afraid to just ping a long ball, just try and hit a big target man. Why not? You know, you're struggling against this 10-man defence, try to pass it around them. It's like, why not, you know, just try and look for options like that? So maybe he will be a useful asset against these types of teams, perhaps. I'm not saying he definitely will before anyone jumps on me in the chat. I know in day, all we could do now is speculate and hope. But I'm trying to look at, you know, what can he actually bring? And when I look at his physical attributes and the size of him, he is definitely something different to Kyogo. And right now, of course, with the way our team is of course playing in the Asian Cup just now. So we only have Kyogo or Ida to play, essentially. Kyogo, I think, will start tomorrow, but I do think we will see Ida at some point during the game. Hopefully, it's not a case of he's having to come on and rescue us because we're losing at the time when he comes on. Hopefully, it's a nice, comfortable situation for it to come on. But I'd like to think, you know, I've got to try and look at the positives here, because at the end of the day, as unhappy as we all are about how that transfer window went, this is the team that we have to now entrust to get through to the end of the season and win this title. So we have to get behind them. As the saying goes, Liam, you know, back the team, sack the board. It's never been more true as what we're seeing right now. We've got to get behind the team, essentially. And these charlatans in the board, you know, we'll make our voices heard to them. But in terms of what's on the park, we need to be right behind them, Liam.
Well, you know, I think there's a lack of self-awareness in this board. And I don't know, I've not lived in Glasgow in a long time. It's like, where do these guys exist? Where did they go? Are they not hearing it for punters and fans in the street? Or are they so elite that they're only in private members' clubs and heated driveways and gated communities and all that they don't get access to the normal fans? And when we do hear fans being vocal at the game and all that, you know, you've seen that guy getting escorted to it and get escorted away from them for trying to be vocal.
Yeah, did I?
It's like, how do you? So if you can't get them out, through the normal means and all that, how do you embarrass them? Because that seems to be the one thing at Desmond. Desmond fucking loves himself, right? He's just stupid big stash and all that. I mean, like, you know, and Pebble Beach, watch this shot, you know, all that bullshit. You need to find a way to embarrass these people. He uses Celtic as a plaything. He uses Celtic to sort of up his visibility. Oh yes, and I own a football club. You know, lends itself to the Irish diaspora. You know, and you know, so he benefits from the association from Celtic, but he doesn't. He's not a fan. He's not even a good businessman when it comes to Celtic. It's just a nice piece of art, I think, a painting that he's got hanging in his room. You know, I'd be willing to sell the team to Conor McGregor at this point just for the crack, you know. Just talk, I'm wanting to buy it, you know.
Oh my word.
You know, get Conor McGregor, fucking Donald Trump, get him to buy it, you know.
Oh no, jeez, oh.
Get Eric and Ivanka doing the you know, he couldn't do any worse than Mark Lyle. You know, at least they'll probably get a better deal for players when we're selling them, and you know.
Well, yeah, out of the deal, as his book is. The very idea. Oh my god! But that is something. We've discussed it before on the show. I remember Mark was very, very blunt about it when I says, "How do we address this? How do we get rid of them, Mark?" And he just basically says, "When they're dead." He was just very blunt about it. He just went, "That's the only way." As morbid as it sounds, he's probably right on that one. It's like you said earlier on, the Whites and the Kellys. It was like a clique. Essentially, it's ours. And I think there's been mentions of it. They don't have a plan on selling, and it's like how do you solve this problem? And the problem I think we've got is, Liam, the fan base at Celtic are too emotional and too loyal. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but in terms of like when you suggest a boycott, it's like, oh no, because that'll be detrimental to the team, and we can't allow Rangers to win titles and dominate. It's like we can't have that. So we have to always say back the team, sack the board. But how can you actually sack the board? How can you get rid of them? Vote with your wallet. Again, that'll be detrimental to the team. So it's a catch-22, mate. It really is. It's a genuine catch-22 we're in.
Well, I think the problem is there's so many people wanting to get season tickets, and so the experiencing, and it doesn't matter where Celtic is in that. It's always you're always part of that Celtic family, where you're always going to support them and all that. And right now we're just going to this thing where something that we love has been completely hijacked and taken from us, and we're watching it being slowly, absorbed into this elite fucking Davos WEF, like fucking, you will have nothing and you'll be happy mentality. Seems to be coming for this board. It's like, just give them scraps. It's like, fuck that. So there has to be a way to get them out. I watched a film on Netflix the other night called Dumb Money, and it was about the GameStop stock thing in the States.
Yeah.
At the time, I thought it was quite interesting. And I watched the film, and basically it was how a group of people and investors, through a guy that just sort of had a chat, something like ourselves, managed to coordinate and influence a bunch of people to buy this stock in a certain way so that it would hurt the people that actually own the stock. But they were buying the stock because they actually loved the company, and it was underperforming and that. And I know there's a lot of people out there when you go on some of the message boards and there's people there that can outline everything about the PLC and the structure and the shareholdings and all that. So we need some of the clever guys to come up and say, okay, so if the only way we can get Desmond out of the club, it's him being dead, and you can't go and kill a guy or anything like that, but that's not going to happen. So what do you do? So you kill their stock, kill their influence. It's like, how do we set something up where we can do a takeover of the club? And is that another share issue? I don't know. I don't know anything about that part of business, but I'm sure there's people out there that will say, okay, well, how do you hurt Desmond? How do you hurt these guys right now that are just hoarding the cash, that don't have best interest, but don't have the self-awareness as well to know that they're being absolute pricks? And it's it just damages a lot of people, as far as their emotional and psychological factor. I mean, here we are, I'm on a Friday afternoon in Vancouver ranting away about Celtic. You're emotional about it. I feel like I think there was another chance to move forward and do something, and that's not entitlement. Entitlements, it's expectations. You can go to a brilliant restaurant and it's been fantastic for years and years, and you go, but you're not going back because of the meal you had 5 years ago, or the chef that used to work there, or your favourite waiter. If they keep changing everything and they change the menu, and then all of a sudden the prices are going higher, but the ingredients are less and the service isn't as good and all that, that's no entitlement. That's having standards. And right now, the reason we're Celtic is because we have had these standards.
Yeah.
From the beginning our club was founded, we've always expected to be a winning team.
Yep.
That's entitlement. That's just like, that's Glasgow people, that's Scottish people, Irish people that support Celtic. That's part of our makeup. That's who we are. And that's what I always like to be supporting Celtic. Oh, we should be happy. We tied. It's like, or but we won the league, 2-3 times, with 4 trebles and all that. Yeah, that's great, but entitlement is not just because you want that now. You want that. You're still paying. I'm no looking at 5 years ago, and it's just. I think right now the fans need to come together. I think we need to show as much displeasure as we possibly can, but you have to do it without hurting the team, and you have to do it without hurting fellow fans, like boycotting and all that, because you can boycott certain things and then you might be hurting your friends and neighbours. It might not be hurting the Lyles or the Strachan's, Desmonds. That's the thing. You've got to be calculated about it. So how do we get it so it embarrasses them to get them out of our club? It used to be a thing in Scottish magic called bardic magic, and they're saying a bard was much worse than, a witch or something that would put a spell on you. A bard would write a poem or a sonnet or something about you, and those words would live and tarnish your entire reputation, or even generations of your families, reputations as well, where you become a meme in a sense, and you become a butt of a joke where, he just lowled it, or, Christ,
like Hibs it, that's a running joke, a running meme, to Hibs it, essentially, to do what they do and basically blow a lead or something like that. That's became a thing in Scottish culture, or Scottish football culture. Yeah, so to lol it, would be, or to lol it would be not to spend money, I suppose that would be. I guess to have lots of money, don't spend it.
A Reggie Blinker. So you need to, I think we have to look at everything that we've got at our disposal to just create so much unrest and unpleasantry around the board that we can get them out of there. So at least they'd be embarrassed to show up wearing that stupid suit, and go, oh, there's another one, and just get them out of there. Like, I think it just has to be a round of booing, not at the team, but at them, boo the entire half time or something, or
see, that's the thing. See, last week with the boos at the end of the Ross County game and the whole bemusement of Alistair Johnson, it wasn't the players that were necessarily getting it, it's what was going on in the boardrooms. Again, when I see performances like last week and the games like against like Hearts before Christmas where we lost, it baffles me that the guys who are in charge of the hierarchy can sit there in their comfy seats watching that in front of them and just think, this is fine. This is absolutely fine. They're not football people to me. They're not football people. It's like they're business people first and foremost. And as long as the profit margins are good, that's all they care about. That's all they care about.
Oh, there's Rod. Let's go and have a chat with Rod, and it's like, it's that bollock stuff as well. And it's like, and the businesses they come from, they'd never have a chance to rub elbows with, Rod Stewart and movie stars, and and some of the Celtic support went out and did great things. A lot of the actors and musicians and all that and sort of stuff. They'd never have access to those people, but because they do now, they think they're some sort of elite, club as well, that they're on the same sort of status and all that. And don't listen to the fans. That's why Rod Stewart's so fucking tone deaf when it comes to the fans as well, because you just tell each other what a great job they're doing, and they suck up his arse and, free seats for life and all that. Well, guys like you and your dad paying hard-earned cash.
That's true. Also, Stephen Carey's asked where Boyce is tonight. I don't know where he is tonight, but the Friday night show is usually the one that I host with my cohort here, Liam's. We are the Friday night slot on the bus. Russell's probably somewhere enjoying his Friday night right now, I would imagine, because I've not seen him in the chat tonight. So he was doing a dry January. Today is the 2nd of February. So, that's it. January's in the rear view mirror now. So he's doing whatever he is tonight. But yeah, the Friday night show is usually the one that I host. So yeah. If you came to see Russell tonight, sorry to let you down. It's me and Liam that are on. Sorry.
Go on and watch last night's show because him and Mark tore up. Yeah. Did you watch it?
Yes, did indeed. Yep. Caught it earlier on today. When I came in, they were already midway through the show, so I caught it on a repeat. But yes, it was a fiery one, as most shows are at the moment, because the mood music hasn't changed, and the only thing that can, we've got to back the team now. We've got to start getting the points on the board. So before I go to the poll that I'm afraid to look at, obviously we're going to need the predictions. So Liam, say tomorrow, Aberdeen. So going by Chris Boyd's logic, we should have no problems. We should roll them over because it's Aberdeen. They never ever try against us. Even though I say the first game or early in the season, we did play them up there at Pittodrie 2 games in, and they did cause us a few problems, but we did ultimately win the game. They are managerless. They are rudderless. So surely tomorrow, despite all the toxicity and all the carnage around Celtic right now, the dumpster fire that's going on, 3 points is going to happen, Liam.
It all depends on the tone of this team right now. So what are they talking about in the dressing room? Do they think they've had a fantastic window? You know, the players leave, so the Scottish contingent's gone, right? There's 2 more Scottish players left.
Mikey Johnson as well, he's away, yep.
Right, so I don't know. I think that opens it up, and it's like, okay, so who's going to be the voice in the dressing room? It's just calm now, right? As far as in Spain, only 2 in the dressing room anymore. It's Scottish. They're due one. You know, they're due one, and I think just with the vibe that's going on right now with Celtic, I think this is what I think. I don't want to ever say we lose. I think we'll draw. You know.
Oh, okay. A draw. Well, most people are coming in saying, "Oh no, wait, Timmy Bing, he's came in." He said, "No." Oh, Timmy, mate. Can you shake off this negativity? No, you can't. Come on, mate. Timmy Bing. And Shells came in with 1-1 as well. Oh, no. Well, I said negativity. I'm now going to look at the poll that I put up at the start of the show because I asked, do you think Celtic will go on and win the league? A really simple question. My voice is even breaking trying to say it because I'm just like, I don't want to look. I'm scared. Okay, let's see what the viewers have said. We've got 189 watching just now. Let's see. 143 votes. And, 64% yes. That's what we need on a Friday night. That's the positivity we need. Yes, 64% yes, 36% no. That's good enough for me. That's what I wanted to see. Because at the end of the day, we are still top of the league. This isn't like, say, the Tony Mowbray season where we were like 10 points behind at the January window, went out and signed Robbie Keane in an attempt to appease the fans, and then lost to Kilmarnock the very next day after the window closed. We are actually still in a position where this is in our hands. It's going to be tough. It should be a lot bigger. The gap should be bigger right now. That's our own fault. We have made it harder than it needs to be. Early in the season, Terry and Russell were basically saying it's over. We were calling the league title in October time. But yeah, we've allowed them back in. It's going to be touch and go. I do think Celtic will still win the league at the end of all this, but it's going to be down to the wire. Say a lot more uncomfortable. Will they win the double? I'm not so sure. I think we've got a clanger of a performance in us, as we saw the Kilmarnock game in the Cup. We've got a clanger in us, and I'm not too sure about the Cup. But in the bigger picture, because the league is the one that obviously is the most important one, then so be it. If we sacrifice the Scottish Cup to win the league, then I'll take it. But obviously, I'd love us to win the double. But I still think at the end of all this season, we will still be the champions. But my God, it's going to be a bumpy ride, so you better strap yourselves in for this one. Let's get a few more positive scores up. Let's see what people are saying. Well, David Meggs wrote it 0-4. It's also with the away team, so 4-0 to us. Gary Brown says 3-1. Mike says 4-1. Oh, Joe Henry's going to be a 2 each. Alex are 1 each. Thankfully, nobody's predicted an Aberdeen win yet. Thank God. But yeah, 2-0 to the boys from my ball. 1-3. Yeah, come on. That's what we need. So, yeah, I'll say Celtic 2-0 tomorrow. I'll go with. I'll say we get a 2-0 win, but it might be one of those games where we're waiting a little while for the first goal with a lot of passing sideways, trying to find a way through that Aberdeen defence. But I think it will come in the end, and we'll get the 3 points. But that's it and done, Liam. On that note, we'll head off now. It's been a 2-man show tonight. We've held the fort pretty well. It's been a rant-filled show. Do you feel you got it off your chest, Liam? Do you feel better now? Do you feel therapeutic for you?
I swear more than Connor Carr tonight.
Wow, that takes a lot. You know, Connor Carr is not PG. And funny enough, he hasn't been on in a wee while. I'm sure he's due an appearance. I'm sure he's got a lot to say. And the only way that Connor Carr can at some point. Yeah, I'm sure he is.
On the message board, isn't
he? Yeah, he's obviously, you know, he'll when he gets on, I'm sure he'll unleash all sorts of hell when he comes on and make it very clear what he thinks of the Celtic board. But first and foremost, Aberdeen tomorrow, PMP will be on afterwards at some point. So again, if you're looking out for it, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so yet, and hit the bell notification. You will be notified when PMP is live. It'll be obviously Russell and Terry. You never know. Maybe I'll step in and host it. Maybe it'll be David. Who knows? But it should be Russell and Terry that are on. But yeah, after all that, yeah, we'll be heading off now. And yeah, folks, so I say it goes without saying, good luck to Celtic tomorrow. Only 3 points will do. And of course, as we always say, keep your eyes on the board. Good night.